Welcome everybody to another Wednesday of Horizons. We have another speaker for you today. Can't wait to introduce him. But before we do that, as you know, I'm Issa White, your host, Program Director of Austin Urban Technology Movement, where we strive to make sure we share information, experiences, and career paths with those who are in the tech industry if you are wishing to move into that path. As you know, we're trying to bridge the gap between the U.S. population of Black and Latino, 18 and 13% respectively, match that with the population in the tech industry, which is not quite up to par. It does not match those records as of 2017. So with that, we have programs like Horizons. We have relationships with other companies who have cohorts in tech curriculum that you can complete and receive certifications in order to be more marketable in the tech space. So with Horizons, we make sure we go and speak to students all the way from elementary, middle school, all the way to those receiving their GEDs, high school, college education, college educated, even those receiving certifications. I guess they'll call them adult learners. So we'd like to introduce you today to David Williams. He is our guest speaker today. And without further ado, David.
Good morning, everyone. Isa, thank you. Julie, thank you for welcoming me to your classroom today. And I know I put together a couple of slides that Isa is going to share, just giving y'all some background to who I am. So first off, can everyone see me loud and clear? I know I had to join on my mobile phone, but want to make sure everyone can see me and hear me clear.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So giving y'all some background. So again, my name is David Williams. I am living here in Austin on the east side. So I don't know if anyone else is on the east side of Austin, but I love it. It feels like, you know, the best place to be because I like to see us and see the diversity, which sometimes feels like it's lacking here in the Austin area. But one thing, just kind of giving everyone a framework. So I know I'm a Black in tech. I work for a company called ADP, which is a leading technology provider for payroll and HR systems for organizations around the world. But taking a step back before I dive into that, I want to just give y'all some more, you know, emphasis on who I am as a person. So one thing I find integral in being a professional is self-reflection and understanding who you represent as a person, as yourself, and who you want to be. And I feel that this year of any year has been one of the greatest, you know, times in history for myself and talking to a lot of my other colleagues to really have an opportunity just to reflect on, you know, being a person of color, being a Black person in the United States. What does that look like? So you see a couple of different words that are listed, you know, on the slide that describe who I am outside of, you know, just working as a professional, working at ADP, working in technology sales. So we've all heard about, you know, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, these continuing different cases. So for me as a person, I have taken this year as a look into myself to understand where I come from, my history of being, you know, a person of color and how I can continue to be an example and lead, you know, a revolution when it comes to us being seen as people, but also making an impact when it comes to our professional environment. So besides that, you know, one thing that really describes me is being a person of, you know, being in the community. I'm the second oldest of 6 siblings. I'm a community ambassador with the Central Texas Food Bank, a civil rights proponent. So there's been a lot of legislation that's been discussed and talked about this year when it comes to the criminal justice system. So it's besides just, you know, coming to work and showing up for work every day and selling a product, it's been important to me to be socially engaged and seeing where I can drive and make an impact. So I want to keep this conversation, you know, very open with everyone today, and feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go through some of these slides today. But I wanted just to give y'all some background just to who I am and what I represent. And I feel the biggest advice I would say, you know, moving forward, whether it's going to be in tech sales, which is obviously one of the leading places to be today, just where we're at in just with the pandemic, it's just really understanding what do you represent as a person and where are you going to set your foundation going forward. So I see a question, someone said, what words represent you? Let me expand this a little bit. So I say what words represent me. The biggest is connector. So it's really is about connection with people. And in the world that I work in, I get to do that every day. So having great conversations with business owners and executives, being able to tell stories that have an impact, being a friend to others, being that ear. I know right now that working in this pandemic, a lot of us have had, tough conversations about, mental health and how do you transcend in this environment to where you want to go and what are your goals and what are your challenges. So being a mentor and a communicator that makes an impact. One thing I like and really enjoy in my downtime is dancing. So that really gives me an opportunity to just listen and take in music. It really gives me an opportunity to have a good time, to enjoy myself. So looking at some of these words that are listed on the screen, and I would love to hear kind of, is there anything in the class of any of these words that anyone can relate to that you feel represents y'all? It's quiet out there. Is it everyone still sleeping? Foodie? Yeah, I'm a big foodie too. So, that's one of the things I definitely do miss in Austin is like going to some of the restaurants. I'm a cook. So I feel like in this whole downtime, I've taken some time to cook. I haven't traveled as much as I wanted to, but once the pandemic is over, hopefully I'll get a chance to make some travel plans and go to the beach. I'm a big beach person. So I did list some other things. So one thing I kind of done that's been really fun through this pandemic is tapping into my history. So one thing we hear a lot in the African American community, you hear words that sometimes downplay our significance of who we are, that it's good to remember that we come from royalty. We come from places that at one time were the evolution of mankind. So I did my ancestry.com DNA test and pinpointed some specific regions in Africa where my family originated from. So Nigerian was the primary, ethnic, cultural trend of my ancestors, and then just being also from Central Africa. So I always recommend like going through, knowing who you are, and I think that will definitely set a great precedent just on who you are in your career. So in the next slide, Isa, can you move that for me? Because I think on my end, perfect. So why autumn? So autumn is something that I am very passionate about because it represents the ability to gain real world education, learning from other people of color that work in the tech industry. So I feel in the world, a lot of times you're thrown with book knowledge. You're told to get an education. You get your high school diploma, you get your bachelor's degree, you probably may get your graduate degree, your master's degree. But I feel the best way to really engage is get an opportunity to network with other people. So Autumn has given me the opportunity to meet other professionals that work in, developer roles, engineering roles. Some of them work in sales roles, just learning all different aspects that go into working in technology and hearing their story of what they do and how they evolved in their career. And some of them, have moved into, very exciting leadership positions in some of the tech organizations that they work in. So representation is another word that I threw on here. So it's important for me to see and have that ability to network with people that look like me. And I feel that that's something that we all need to do because we have the ability to, change the world when we come together and hear each other's story. And then also I love technology. I've been working in the tech industry for 16 plus years. So just being able to stay on the trends that are evolving in technology, there's always something new. There's always a new startup. There's always a new company that's, creating something that I may not be thinking of that's going to make an impact for the clients that I work with. So just staying in the know is very important to me in being involved with Autumn. And the last but not least is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this is a big topic right now just because of just so much of the shift that's changing in America. People of color are moving into different positions and roles, as we saw with Kamala Harris as our first vice president of the United States, that we're also seeing in the tech industry that there is a great need to see more people in leadership and moving into roles. So in my current, organization that I work in, I'm part of, different diversity groups where I get to speak to other employees and some of our leaders on different ideas of what I would like to see when it comes to training and developing people that look like myself within the organization. And that's something I've always been involved in. And at AUTM, they also work with other organizations through Austin that have, business resource groups, which are probably like, you hear about student unions at organizations or student organizations that you have at your school. These are groups that take place in corporate America where it's like, you may have a Black business resource group, you probably have an Asian one, you have a Latin one, and it's opportunities for all these different groups to share, insights, what matters to them and how they would like to be seen within their organization. So AUTM helps, field these different relationships. And that's one big reason why I wanted to be a part of AUTM. So any questions or next slide? Thank you, Isa. So giving y'all some background to education, which is obviously very key to your success moving forward, is my background is I attended a school called Menlo College, which is in Northern California. It was a 4-year private school. And the reason I chose to go to Menlo College is because I wanted a very personalized experience to be engaged in an education environment where I could make an impact. The school had about 1,000+ students, so it gave me the ability to feel like I really got a sound investment in what I wanted to do. So my initial idea when I went to college is I'd always been into journalism. I wrote for my middle school and high school newspaper. So I initially thought, you know what, I'm going to go to college. I want to be a journalist or maybe a reporter. But one thing that you find is that, when you start your education journey is that you'll pivot sometimes as you network and make connections and expose yourself to different things. And you're like, wow, I think this is something that I'll definitely enjoy a little bit more. So I went to Menlo for 4 years. And in that experience, I studied abroad at Oxford University in England, which I was very fortunate based on, strong work ethic, getting honors and excelling in my courses year after year. And in that experience, I got an opportunity to study business, history, and just some different religious, philosophical studies that gave me ability to learn about ways to be engaged into the community. So in the world, I should say. So Oxford University is one of the oldest universities in the world. It's the most prestigious university in the world. And it gave me just a deeper level of what is possible. So when I came back from studying abroad, I actually realized, you know what, I think that I want to shift and do something a little bit different. And so in my journey of after I graduated from college, I realized that I wanted to work in a role where I got to do sales. And sales is something that my mom tells me, she says I'm a natural salesperson because she says back in the day when she used to take me shopping, that I would be the person that would always upsell her into saying, if you spend $10 more, you could get so much of a better quality type of product, whether that's clothing or, some type of furniture. So I've always been into seeing like, what is the value and what is available for, things that are going to benefit, people. And so that's something that I really have enjoyed working in technology sales is having the ability to, present and connect with people. In my journey of, after getting my education, my bachelor's and spending some time working, I realized that I wanted to further my education and get my master's degree in business because I knew that my ultimate goal is to continue to lead and manage and be seen as a leader and an executive within the tech industry. So one key thing of doing that is getting an additional foundation, a graduate degree in business administration, a master's degree in business administration, which I did through the University of Phoenix. And it was a great program for adult learners and something that gave me, an opportunity to network with other people and move forward in my career. So kind of taking things forward, I don't know if anyone has any questions or thoughts, but that gives you a little bit some background to my educational experience. Oh, I did have one question, Isa, and this is going to be I would love to give like a gift card to anyone that answers this question right. So that picture that you see on my education journey, which has me holding this award, and that award I got was in my freshman year of college, where I was giving like the top freshman of the year for all my educational and extracurricular activities. I started the African American Student Union at Menlo College. So Issa, I wanted to pose this question to everyone, just whoever answers this question or gets closest to us. How old do you think I am in that picture when I got this award in my freshman year?
22.
Oh my, you right on point. Who answered that question? Someone just jumped right in on that, got that really on point, close.
Daniel.
Who is that?
Daniel, if you could put that in the chat as well, so we can
Daniel,
timestamp it.
Perfect. Well, I will connect with Issa to make sure that I get you a gift card for it. You were right on point on that number. So that
Wow, that was good.
Yeah, I was like, are you psychic or something? But that was right on point. I was like,
Nice.
yeah. So it's funny, like looking back, that was like so many years back, and just thinking about like for y'all where you're at today, and you're thinking about going to school, and you know, it's important to think of how in your educational journey that you can be involved in the community. I was involved in, you know, being the president of the African American Student Union, kicking that off. I was involved in the NAACP. I put together a lot of different events working in the community just to help drive engagement so that people could see that there are people that look like me that want to get my education, and that are not all the stereotypes that sometimes you'll hear that like, why do you talk so proper, or you don't play, you know, did you come here on a basketball scholarship? So there's a lot of things that I feel that, you know, people of color that we're working through, and we're setting that example, and you can do that and make that impact through your education, but also being engaged in the community and being a part of organizations like AUTM. So next slide, Issa, please.
Mm-hmm.
So starting my tech journey, I started working for a company that was based in Salt Lake City, of all places I'd never been in my life. And I had actually never heard of this company before. It was a company called In Contact. So y'all have all heard of a social networking site for professionals called LinkedIn. And I'm curious, is anyone already on LinkedIn right now that you're kind of exposing yourself and networking with people to get a start in your career? So good to hear. I think Issa just put a couple of yeses off them. Yes, saw some yeses pop up. So back in 2000, like the early 2000s, it was like during the time frame where some of y'all probably heard of MySpace, which was kind of phasing out, and Facebook and LinkedIn kind of were popping off. And I remember one of my friends that I worked with, I was working in advertising sales, which I started my career in advertising sales, doing that for a couple of years for 3 publications in Las Vegas. And a colleague of mine said, David, you need to get on LinkedIn and you need to get on Facebook. And at first I was like, you know what? I don't got time for no Facebook, no MySpace, all this different stuff. But it was good that I did, because at that time, that was when LinkedIn was really evolving and setting the precedent for social engagement and networking within the business community. And I wanted to make a shift because I was working in advertising, and advertising was just very tough because the economy was, it's very similar to like what we're going through right now. The economy had went downhill, and advertising is very tied to the economy based on, you know, how businesses are doing if they're going to spend money. So I was like, you know what? I need to get into technology. And it's interesting just kind of thinking about where we're at right now today, that a lot of the people that are sustaining themselves, that have that are making good money, that have the ability to work from home, they're not the frontline workers. They're people like myself that work in technology, and Issa can probably definitely relate. We're able to work from home. We've been able to pivot. So back in that day, I worked for a company called In Contact. That was the first technology company that I applied to through an ad I saw on LinkedIn. And I had a virtual interview with this white dude, older guy, talked to him, told him my background, and I got hired as a sales developer for this company. And so sales developer, you're probably thinking like, okay, was he developing technology or something? Excuse me, and my allergies are bothering me a little bit. So apologies if I sound a little bit, you know, nasally and all that good stuff. Cedar fever is popping off. So In Contact, sales developer. So if I don't know if is anyone thinking about a career in tech sales? It just kind of, I want to take a pulse. But I know a lot of people don't think about technology sales, and it wasn't something that I really wasn't thinking about. Daniel, thank you for posting that. It was something that I really wasn't thinking about, and it wasn't a career path that nobody else in my family had taken, but I'm very happy I did. Now, getting into technology sales is very competitive. It is very tough. It is, a lot of times you don't see people that look like us. And that was the case when I started working at InContact. So as a sales developer, it was a lead generation, or pretty much I was fielding a territory and calling on businesses throughout the world, trying to scout for leads, new business leads for account executives. So it was a very entry level sales role where I came into the organization to position InContact, which InContact provided a cloud solution for organizations to and have deploy technology in their call centers. So like, when you call into think of if you have a credit card or your bank, like Bank of America or Wells Fargo, when you call in and it tells you to press 1 for customer service, 2 for sales, so InContact had the technology that integrated and helped companies define the ability to engage with their different customer support services teams and providing the back end technology to do that. And it was the #1 company that offered that technology. So I was calling all types of call centers, all types of organizations around the world, positioning this technology. And it really taught me how having good conversations with different executives and hearing what their thoughts were about transitioning and moving into the cloud. And at that time, the cloud was something that was very new. Salesforce was not the big company that it was today. That y'all probably heard of Salesforce. You probably heard of Amazon. None of those companies were where they are today. So InContact was like one of the first, cloud companies that kind of was making a precedent in customer engagement communications. So from there, I kind of pivoted even more in my career. When I moved to Austin about 10 years ago, I started working for a company called 360 Training, which gave me an opportunity to sell the e-learning technology platform. And it was a really cool organization because it was a small company. I got to get into the weeds of things because it was only a team of 2 people. I was one of the first of 2 people. So I was making a lot of money, making some great commission. I remember getting commission checks of like $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. And I was like, ooh, okay, I'm about to be popping off. I'm about to be, getting this car I want, be filling up my house with some nice furniture. So the one thing is, I would say, is just working in sales. I worked at Tableau for 4 years, which I don't know if anyone's heard of Tableau. Tableau was the leader for data analytics, has been the leader for data analytics and visualization. They were bought by Salesforce acquired by Salesforce in the past 2 years. So all these organizations that I worked in a tech role have been leaders or transformative players that they disrupted the tech industry and the services that they provided. And I would say Tableau was one of the most fun experiences I had, that I worked there in 4 years and got to work with enterprise and technology and tech sales. Enterprise are companies that have $1 billion plus in revenue. They're like your largest companies in the world, like your Amazons, your UPSs, your AT&Ts. I worked covering Texas, so I worked with oil and gas organizations. So I worked with like Shell, BP, just so many different organizations. That's National Instruments, which is here in Austin. And so it gave me an opportunity to talk about business analytics and intelligence. So I moved and transitioned after working for 4 years at Tableau. I wanted to do something very different. And I find that it's important to continue to challenge yourself, take yourself out your comfort zone. And in every role that I've done is to do that. So when I went to work for a company called Namely, which is another startup, I wanted to sell an HR platform, because I really enjoyed at Tableau is having great conversations with HR leaders, because they set the tone for the culture for organizations. They are the face. They understand they need to know and have the right technology to move the organization down the right path. So that's how I ended up at ADP, which ADP is the #1 company in the world for providing payroll and HR solutions to organizations. And it's all the experiences I had from InContact to Tableau to Namely that helped pave the way for me to be a district manager today, covering the sales market here in Austin. So it kind of will lead me into the next slide. I don't know if there's any questions or anyone has any specific things. Isa, anything in chat that I may be missing?
There's a question. Yes, Daniel asked, are those jobs in sales for specific personalities, or is anyone able to catch on?
So great question, Daniel. I'd say the personality that you need to have to work in sales is just being a people person. So a person that you like to communicate, you like to be a person that helps others solve a problem, because sales is about, understanding the needs of what people are going through, listening to those needs, and framing the right solution, business challenge that's going to help them. So I would say it's being a people person and being a good communicator and listener. What were you saying, Daniel?
Let me see.
Okay, I think I got some of it. Let me go back to it.
Yeah, so I just added, that was also one question. And I also added, if you don't love sales or people, then the customer facing role won't be as fun. True. But there are a lot of back office roles, like, IT, anything IT, because they got to help run the business. Anything, yes, finance or HR, there are other non-sales specific roles within sales companies.
So true. And that's why it's so critical to know your personality, know what you like and don't like. The fun thing is, Issa could probably relate. There's people that we work in the sales environment that you meet people that have opposite personalities of mine, that they're a loner, or they're to themselves. They don't want to have to communicate with strangers or make cold calls. So they're doing things that are, more just in front of a machine. They're inputting, coding. They're, changing systems on the back end. So they're people-facing roles, which was exciting for me working in tech sales, is because it's just a path that a lot of people of color, especially African Americans, have never thought about. It's like, if you like working with people, you like understanding technology, you like solving problems, you can make good money and you can have a long-term career once you get your foot in the door working in tech sales. So just giving y'all some perspective. Thank you, Daniel, for the question, and everyone else's questions too. So why ADP? So ADP has been around for 70 plus years. And as I mentioned, and I probably threw in the bio that Issa shared with everyone, ADP pays 1 in 6 Americans. We are the forefront of providing HR technology. So I'm having conversations with business owners and executives here in Austin about their workforce optimization strategies. So when I say workforce optimization strategies, I'm talking about their compensation and benefits. So everybody wants to get paid, a decent salary to survive. You need benefits, which is like healthcare. So I'm talking to them about ways that they're going to compensate and keep their employees engaged with, a lucrative package that they need to be healthy and pay their mortgages or pay their rent. And then I'm also talking to them about risk. So a lot of times with organizations, as you'll learn as you start working, if you ever open up your own business or you just work in the tech industry, is every organization is exposed to risk into some capacity. Right now with the pandemic situation, all businesses are worried about how do they safely return back to work, which this has just been an evolving, conflict situation that nobody ever expected. So I'm talking to executives like, what does that look like? How do you have technology to do that? So for a lot of organizations, they need testing to test their employees if they're in the office. Like, have you been exposed to COVID? How many employees can we have in the office safely where we don't expose ourselves to getting any type of fines or lawsuits? So the great thing I've really enjoyed about being at ADP is that I'm working in an organization that's making an impact right now, today, that's really relevant to the success of organizations. So understanding how they're going to, lead their organization in a way that they sustain their operations and stay financially lucrative. And I think, Daniel, you threw a question in there. Let me look at that to make sure I don't miss anything.
So do you help companies decide how much employees are paid or what kind of benefits they give out?
Correct. Yeah. So ADP, since we pay 1 in 6 Americans, we have the technology and the data to position a benchmark and an analysis. So I'm meeting with executives and kind of reviewing, what they're paying their employees today. How does that compare for different roles. So let's say you work for a tech organization and you're in a sales role. What are other, sales executives or account executives getting paid at similar tech organizations? If you're a web developer at, Amazon and you're starting a startup, how are you paying compared to Amazon at your startup? Is it competitive? How do you need to adjust your compensation and benefits to make sure that your pay and compensation is competitive? And to answer your question, Daniel, so 1 in 6 Americans. So we pay. So, when you start working, you get a paycheck, and every, company has to have a payroll processor. There's some way that they have to manage their books. They usually have, you probably heard of like Intuit or QuickBooks. So those are some systems that are the back end accounting solutions. But what ADP provides businesses is an outsourced payroll solution to, mitigate risk. So 1 in 6 Americans. So when you think of the population, there's over 300 million Americans in the United States. So we pay 1 in 6 of 300 million people. So when you think of that number, that comes to about 40 million people that ADP is paying through our technology. Does that kind of explain or answer your question better?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Perfect. So 40 million people are getting paid through ADP's platform and technology. So most of y'all, if you've been working, you probably never knew your paychecks are getting processed through ADP. And so let me bring up, I think there's another question someone put in there.
No, I was just summarizing what you were saying.
Okay, perfect. Mm-hmm. So the impact that we have and the data that we collect, there's no other organization, technology, HR company that has the data that ADP has, because we pay so many people in the United States to be able to help companies understand how they can, set their companies up for long-term success when it comes to compensation and pay. How do they keep their employees engaged? How do they mitigate risk? So we offer a full life cycle technology suite of solutions to help organizations have the best employee environment. So that's one of the great reasons why I love ADP. I would say a financial impact that ADP is, it's been amazing is when this pandemic kicked off, they gave every employee $1,000 bonus, which was incredible because a lot of organizations are struggling and have not been able to, some organizations have actually had to lay off some of their staff. So that speaks to the strength and financial sound success of ADP, is that they were able to give every employee $1,000 bonus. And just this past month, they announced every employee would get $250. No matter if you work in sales, everyone in the organization is getting that bonus. So that is a big emphasis of just saying how the company is invested in giving back to their employees, because they know it's been a very tough economic situation just in this current environment. Another key reason why I joined ADP is because I wanted to work for an organization that was very progressive, that valued diversity. So there's a big campaign, Issa might have seen it and heard about it. It's being advertised, it's all on social media, and it's called 110. And it's an African-American gentleman that is working with leading organizations around the world to help them tell the story of why it's important to have people of color, specifically Black Americans, in certain roles. And ADP is engaged in getting more people of color and Black Americans in positions that were underrepresented, or we want to have more representation. And that is looking at kind of not just education, like looking at people's education background, but looking at people's work experience. What can you bring to the organization that's going to make an impact? And so I'm very proud that ADP is a company that has valued diversity. It's won awards year over year, being awarded one of the best companies to work for, one of the best companies when it comes to diversity, and helping organizations to understand and see what it looks like to have, people of color, that look like us there today in all different roles. So that's a key reason why I joined ADP, and I plan on being at the organization for the long term. Any questions anyone has about ADP, or what your take is on working at a company that promotes diversity?
I have one. When did the 110 campaign start? That start this year?
Yes, it just started. The 110 just started this year, and it's just a big push. The one thing that is very top of mind across all organizations is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just everything that's happened with, from George Floyd to Ahmaud Arbery, it's put it at the forefront. So where Autumn is doing today here locally, working with professionals like myself that work in the tech industry in different capacity and roles, we are seeing the effects in what we all been waiting for, because kind of taking it back at all those different companies that I shared with y'all that I've worked at in the tech industry, I was always the first one that was the first person of color that worked in those different positions, the first Black person. A lot of times I looked around and there was no one else that looked like me in those different roles. So a lot of times you find that in that situation that you're isolated. You sometimes need people that you can share your experience with and find mentors and have conversations with. So I'm very excited to see what things look like, 5 to 10 years from now, that, there's people like myself that we were the ones that had to open and kick down the door, that we were the first ones that were in some of these different tech positions and kind of setting the framework of what success looks like, that we're not that stereotype, that they can see that we do bring value. We're just as intelligent and capable to do these different roles that these organizations have open. So I'm excited just to see that there is a big diversity push that's going on right now across the world. So kind of framing it back, I know I've answered this question a little bit here and there. Daniel, pointed out a couple of things. I'll share some things why technology sells. So one thing I did share initially is like the people personality is key, that you like being in conversation with people, you like solving problems. I would say if you're looking for a role that is not mundane, that's like the same thing day to day, if you like excitement, if you played sports and you like competition, you like taking yourself out your comfort zone, then sales is a great path because it's exciting, it's something new, it's something different every day. You get to meet all different types of people and hear different types of stories or what's going on in different companies, and framing the right type of discussion to help them solve those problems. It's a hustle. Is one thing. So if you got to think on your toes, you have to be able to, put in the extra work to make an impact in your territory. So usually in sales, in working in the sales role, you're usually assigned a specific vertical. So let's say you may be assigned to work with companies that are in the media industry or companies that work in the pharmaceutical industry, or you could be assigned a territory based on city or zip code. So here in Austin, I cover the east side, the south side, the north side, all the way up to Killeen and Waco. So I get to work with a variety of different businesses throughout the Austin area. The money, as I mentioned before, so if you're into wanting to make like a 6-figure income, there's sales professionals in the tech industry that make up to $1 million a year just based on their success. Being able to go to President's Club. So in technology, usually every year they honor people that are the top salespeople. So at ADP, we have a thing called President's Club, where they send you on an international destination for a week. And they're spending like $25,000 per employee, where you get to spend, a week in these exotic locations in the finest hotels, being with other top players, eating good food, partying for the week, and just celebrating the success that you've had. So there's a lot of great opportunity to, if you like money and getting the recognition for the hard work you put into sales, then technology sales is a great path. Job growth, which I think I shared, tech sales is great to be in because it's the future. It's going to lead the world. As y'all probably saw that Oracle has moved their headquarters to Austin, which is pretty exciting. Tesla is opening up the Gigafactory, which I live 10 minutes from the new Gigafactory, which is driving up the real estate in my home. My home is appreciating like crazy. So it gives you the opportunity to have a very sustainable long-term career that you can provide for yourself and for your family. And one key thing is just being an effective communicator. No matter if you work in technology sales or whatever role that you work in, I recommend is putting yourself in situations where you have to do some public speaking. And I want to be, very transparent with all of y'all. I am more of a face-to-face person. This whole shift to working virtually has been a big disruptor for me. I know for the millennials, y'all be on Facebook and FaceTime and all that stuff all the time on your phones. And that has been a shift in this new environment. So being comfortable with technology and doing things like this, where I get the opportunity to engage with people virtually, is up-leveling myself. So I encourage everyone that's on this call today, continue to put yourself in situations where you become an effective communicator and, speak to things that matter to you. So I put these two pictures of things that, resonated with me based on my success in working in tech sales. As one, I was able to build a brand new house. And I built that house based on the success I had at working at Tableau for 4 years. They gave me close to like $60,000 in stock options. So a lot of tech companies, they give you stock options based on when you get hired on, but also based on your performance. So that money was a great investment. And I said, you know what, the best investment that we can make in ourselves is in our future. And buying a home is one key thing I recommend as y'all start your careers and you start making money, is thinking about how you spend your money effectively. I'm now in my second home I've bought. So I put a picture because anything's possible. The other picture I put in there is a brand new Camry, which I don't drive a Camry. I drive a nice fancy luxury car, but I put that car in there because for my mom, I've been able to take care of her. I, got her a car because she needed a brand new one. So being able to provide for my family and getting them things that they need is something that I've been able to do just based on my success in working in the tech sales industry. So one thing I would recommend to everyone is just continue to do your homework, understand kind of what matters to you, and be engaged in the community, and take your education and take your career seriously. Continue to find mentors of people that look like you, but also I would say it's key to also have mentors that don't look like you. Sometimes when you come from the Black community, or if you've been isolated to, being comfortable in that environment of, associating with other people of color, we also have to step outside our comfort zone and network and engage with all people. Because in my career also, the success I've also have had and the networks into getting into certain organizations have been through people also that don't look like me. So that's something I also wanted to share as feedback to everyone today on today's call. I want to open it up to any additional questions that anyone has. I hope I, presented, and gave y'all a good perspective of what you could do and what's possible exploring, the technology sales route. Isa, any questions or any additional thoughts from anyone on the call today?
I'm on mute. Daniel says ADP sounds like a good company. Yes.
It is. It's an amazing
Yes.
company.
And very inspiring, comes from Julie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I enjoyed speaking to y'all. I wish it would have been face-to-face. Obviously, in the pandemic, we all want to be safe, and I hope everyone continues to embrace safe practices. And I'm wishing that hopefully in the new year, we are able to, get back to some type of normalcy sooner than later. Jasmine, thank you for the question, and thank you for joining today. And if there's not any additional questions, feel free to network. And Daniel, I'll have to get with Isa to get you the gift card too.
I'll go through Julie, so we'll work that out.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, this has been a really good conversation, really inspiring. There's not any more questions. Give you another chance to put a question here in the chat or unmute yourself.
Can students reach out to you via LinkedIn if they have other questions that come up?
Yes, anytime. I'm always open to LinkedIn. Feel free to send me a note if there's any questions, if there's anything that you need to know to help you start your career in technology. I'm always here to be a voice and ear. So feel free to hit me up anytime on LinkedIn.
What is your LinkedIn? I can put it in the chat.
Yeah, feel free. Oh, I don't have it in front of me because I'm on my phone right now, but can we get it? I can send it through to Isa, or Isa can forward it on to you to send out to the team. It's LinkedIn. My end of the LinkedIn is it starts with me. So it's IT, the word start, Z for zebra, the word with, and then me, M for Mary, and then E for Edward. So it starts with me.
Where's the Z?
Is it with the Z?
Like this?
Yep. So Z for zebra. So instead of S after the T, it's a Z. So it starts.
Oh, okay.
Me.
I see.
Yeah.
That.
I hope nobody else is getting bogged down with cedar fever. It's kicking my butt a little bit. But other than that, yes, feel free to reach out anytime. Issa, thank you for the invitation. And thank you, class, for attending. And I'm wishing everyone much success and a happy new year.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, David. And
You're
everyone,
welcome.
don't forget to join our Autumn Learn app. We actually have a live event this evening at 6. We're going to do a demo and go through all the nitty-gritty information for the application to show you what it's like. And hopefully you'll be able to go ahead and join us and start using that application. We also have a newsletter. If you go to our website, AUTM.org, join Autumn. There's gonna be like a button on the screen. There's also a place you can actually select join Autumn or get connected. But make sure if you're on your computer, you can take a picture of this QR code with your phone and use that to get our app. Other than that, thanks again for joining. We'll be here again starting in the new year. So we have a new line of people. We're already getting new people signed up for next year. So if you have any questions, or if you have any particular areas that you want to hear from, whether it be media, social media again, like Desiree, or maybe other areas in tech or tech-related careers, because now everything touches tech.